Hi, everyone. Welcome to our last class of the week and of Friday, creative writing. It's good to be back. Hi, Evan. I see people are coming into the class already. Glad you guys are here. I hope you have all been writing. Several people have been emailing me their stories, and it has been really awesome to read those. It makes me so happy whenever I find out that one of our students has written a story or has finished a story and they send it in. It's like the highlight of my week. So keep on writing, keep on sharing those stories with me. We love to see them. Hi, Ian. Hi, Gerard. Ian asked, where have I been? I was just off for a few days, but now I'm back. So it's good to be here. And I'm glad to see all of you guys here. All right. So as always, we have a topic today. We're going to be working on more description, how to make our descriptions more rich, how to make them even more showing and less telling, because we love that. And any questions you guys have about writing, if you want any tips, or if you have something you're working on in one of your stories and you want help maybe improving it, just let me know. Just throw it out there and we'll talk about that too. So let's, oh, are there more questions here? Hi, Pierce. Hi, April. It's your first class of the day. Well, I'm glad you're here, April. Hey, it's never too late to take a class. All right. Hey, Aubrey. Hi, Pierce and everybody. Okay. Oh, thank you. People saying welcome back. Oh, I missed you guys too. I'm glad to be here. Gerard, we're going to talk about descriptions today. And yeah, we'll jump into that in just a moment. Oh, Natalie says, I'm writing a story called The Adventures of Todd and Bowie Pup. That sounds awesome, Natalie. Great. Oh, Pierce asked, how long have I been writing stories? I've been writing stories since I was pretty young, actually. So I'm in my 30s. I've probably been writing for about 30 years at this point and having fun the entire time. So, all right, let's jump into it. Here we go. Okay, so we're doing more showing in writing today. Remember, as always, these are suggestions. They're not rules. I like to throw that out there because every time you think that you found a rule that always applies in writing, you read a book or a story that breaks the rules and then you go, oh, okay, they're just suggestions. They don't work for everybody. You don't have to follow them. But here's today's suggestion. Starting off with, here's something I want you guys to remember, and I want you to think about this. I want you to remember your reader is smart, usually. But I think your writing is usually going to be better if you assume that your reader is smart. And here's why. If somebody was not smart, they'd probably need you to explain everything to them. But most people are pretty smart. I know all of you guys are pretty smart. I know because I've read your writing, you guys are bright. And your readers, the people that you share your writing with, are probably pretty bright too. So when you think about who your reader is going to be and you think about how smart they usually are, then you can leave it up to your reader sometimes to figure some things out for themselves. So when you write, you don't have to tell your reader every single little thing. That means that you don't always have to tell them every single thing that's happening in a story. You can leave some things up to them to assume because they're maybe obvious. But that also means that since your reader probably has a pretty good imagination, they can interpret or decide how they feel about some things for themselves. I want you to picture a reader like this that has a great imagination, that can picture a lot of what's going on if you give them a good start. If you give them a good start and you're very descriptive about how some things look and some things that are happening, the reader can for themselves decide or add in a lot by themselves. I want you to also imagine, I bet everybody here has done a paint by numbers picture or art at some point in their lives. Have you all seen one of those? There's like a picture and it's got lines, and it usually like tells you like what colors to fill in. Or some of those fun coloring books where they give you like a pattern and it's like there's all these shapes and flowers and things, and it's really cool. But it's like an outline. It's like black and white line drawings, and you get to fill it in with whatever colors you want. You could make each section be a hole filled in color, or you could make patterns or do whatever you want. But your job as a writer is often to create the outline that the reader will fill in with all the colors themselves. What does that mean in practice? Well, let's go over that. So, since you don't need to tell your reader what something is like or how to feel in a given situation, the best writing shows the reader a situation by describing it. It's up to the reader to use their imagination to picture it and then decide how they feel about it. Let's go through some examples so we can see what we're talking about here. Here's show, don't tell example number 1. The telling version of the sentence is, I heard footsteps creeping behind me, and it made the whole situation scarier. That's not a terrible sentence. The grammar is fine, the way the sentence is put together. It communicates clearly. It tells the reader something that makes sense. You can imagine the footsteps, and you can imagine that it made the situation feel scary. I think the only problem with this sentence is that it's very plain in a way, but it's also telling the reader how to feel. It's telling the reader, you feel scared, or the character in the story feels scared. But why? Why would what is the feeling that is actually being experienced that is then being described as being scared or something being scary? In real life, your mind, you don't just think to yourself, scared, scary. What you actually experience in real life is something like the show example here. Crunching hit my ears from behind, accelerating the already rampant pounding of my heart. Now, already rampant pounding of my heart, that's maybe a little bit flowery. That could maybe be toned down a little bit. But what I like about this show example is it's not just saying that something's scary. It's showing you that the character or the person's heart is pounding. That's what in a scary situation actually happens to you. We could think, what are some other things that happen when we're scared? Maybe we breathe more quickly. Maybe some people sweat. Lots of people definitely feel their heart beat faster. Their heart pounds. Maybe you feel jumpy. Maybe the person's eyes widen. These are all actual physical things that you can observe about a person when they're scared. In real life, if you looked at somebody and you thought to yourself, that person looks scared, you wouldn't think that because the person's saying, I'm scared. And if a person actually did just raise their hand and say, hey, I'm scared, you probably wouldn't believe them. You wouldn't be like, oh, that person, they're not scared. They're telling me they're scared. They're not really scared. But if you saw a person, their eyes are wide, they're breathing quickly, they're looking around, they're sweating, you'd probably think that person looks terrified. Why are they so scared? Because again, the observer, your reader, is intelligent, and you need to treat them like they're intelligent. So describe what things look like, describe what the characters in your story are experiencing, and the reader will naturally come to the conclusion themselves that the person is scared. Instead of having somebody just say like the character is in love, well, what does a person look like when they're in love with somebody else? The smiles, the way they act, the way they move. You have to be able to observe these things in real life so that you can describe them in your writing. And side note, if you find it hard to think of, well, how does something look? How would I describe that? Well, that's something to practice. There's a good exercise that lots of writers do, which is just observing people and things in the natural world. You have to be able to go out into society and really look at people and then think to yourself, how would I describe that person right now? The best writers do this. They think, when a person is proud of themselves, how does that person actually look? So then you can describe that to the reader, and you don't just have to say the person was proud of himself. Here's the other problem with that. If you just say he was proud of himself, that doesn't necessarily communicate something to the reader that they can picture in their mind. Reading is an imagination activity. The reader's actually having to create this whole world in their mind with you. But if you just tell them he was proud, that's kind of hard to picture sometimes. You have to help your smart reader out. If you tell them, you know, the person he stood up, their chest puffed out, a faraway look on their face, you know, a grin tugging up the corners of their mouth. You know, you might get the feeling more that that person's proud of what they just did, rather than just having to tell the reader that. Oh, you guys are already writing some awesome stuff in the Q&A box. Let me go through this really quick. Gerard's writing a story. Very awesome, Gerard. It's called Diary of a Normal Kid, Home Improvement. It's about how a family uses a piece of money given by their relative, but things don't go as planned. That's awesome, Gerard. Oh, Aubrey and April, sounds like you guys have written some stuff that you'd like to share. A little bit later in the class, I'll show the email address again. I'll put it up on the screen and you guys can send that to me. I cannot wait. April, you're writing a pirate book? I definitely want a copy. I definitely want to read that. That sounds really awesome. Let's see. Very cool. More people are talking about what they wrote. Gerard, your ideas sound awesome. I'd like to read some of those when they're done. Let's see. Yes, Gerard, I like to write. I like to write for fun too. Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm going to put up another. Example now that we can all look at. All right, so this is our show, don't tell example 2. The telling version of this sentence is, she was my best friend. I could tell her almost anything. Okay, so those are 2 English sentences. We can read them. They make sense. We get what they're saying. But they really tell, don't they? They just tell you something. They kind of tell you how to feel about it. They tell you how it is, but they don't really let the reader picture it for themselves. Look at this show example. I met her at the town square, running in for our usual hug that carried on for far too long as we gushed about our lives with smiles lighting our faces. So if you observe this in real life, if you were in the town square and 2 people ran in for a hug, and huge hug, big smiles, they immediately start talking about their lives, you probably think to yourself, those 2 people are really good friends. If you listen to them tell each other about their lives, you'd be like, oh, they could tell each other anything. I can observe that. You'll kind of mentally fill in those details, that observation by yourself. It's more fun for your smart readers to get these descriptions than to just be told how to feel about something. If you asked pretty much any reader, they would usually tell you that they prefer the show example over the telling example. Here are some more examples that I'm going to put up a whole list of examples that we can go through together. So, telling. The temperature fell and the ice reflected the sun. That's fine, but we're just telling what happened. Listen to this showing example. Bill's nose burned in the frigid air. Frigid means really cold. And he squinted against the sun, reflecting off the street. So Bill's nose burned in the frigid air. Okay, I can tell, I can figure out for myself from that, it's really cold. He squinted against the sun, reflecting off the street. So this sentence tells you everything the sentence before told, but it does it by actually making you picture what's going on. And the person can draw these conclusions themselves. Telling is saying Susie was blind. Showing is saying Susie felt for the bench with a white cane. In that showing example, you can figure out for yourself that Susie is blind, but it helps the reader actually picture the scene in their mind. Telling, it was late fall. Showing, leaves crunched beneath his feet. The showing example usually uses the person's senses. You'll see that the showing examples usually activate what the character is hearing, what they're seeing, maybe what they're smelling, what they're experiencing. Just saying it was late fall, the telling example, you could even ask, well, how do we know that? What's happening that we know that it's late fall? Oh, we know it's late fall because leaves are crunching under our feet as we walk. This last one, she was a plumber and asked where the bathroom was. Or, she wore coveralls, carried a plunger and metal toolbox, and wrenches of various sizes hung from a leather belt around her waist. Point me to the head, she said. Head is another word for a bathroom. So I think we could all agree that we almost always prefer the showing example over the telling one. It's more interesting, it's more fun, it's more real, it activates more of our five senses. Some of the most fun passages in a book to read are the ones that they manage to fit in almost like a little bit of description for all of your senses. Like that one about the dry leaves there. If you can imagine a paragraph in a book, like let's say you went through a magical portal and you teleported somewhere and you didn't know where you were or what time of the year it was. But if I told you as the writer, you know, Joe walked down the street, leaves crunching under his feet, fat orange pumpkins sat on every door, on every house's porch. Clouds were moving across the full moon, and he felt a chill breeze through the air. The scent of bubbling hot cider came from an open doorway. Okay, you can kind of figure out pretty quickly it's fall, maybe probably October, maybe close to Halloween. You know, you can tell sort of just from the ambiance, the kind of environment that I'm writing for you. It's just giving you a lot for your senses to experience. And that's a lot more fun than saying, I came through the portal. I was pretty sure it was near Halloween. That is pretty much the most boring way I could describe that same scene to you. So when you write, you'll often find that the telling version is like easier and maybe comes faster. If you're like typing something up and you're trying to, in your mind, you're like, well, I think it's going to be Halloween when he goes through the portal. You might just say like, I came out of the portal and it looks like Halloween. Okay, that's fine. But that's kind of like your rough sketch. It's like the first version of the picture that you are creating for the reader. That's one thing to look back for. If after you write something, you can look back on it for your second draft and you can go through and turn those first telling descriptions into showing descriptions. You can look for, where did I just like describe something really simply, and how can I turn it into something that actually use the person's senses so they can figure things out for themselves. If you guys have any questions about that, go ahead and put them in the Q&A box. I'm going to see really quickly if I missed anything here. One person said they've shared their story. Yes, I think I have. I think I saw that I have your story in my inbox. I'm going to read that. So thank you for sending it in. Let's see. Katie said, what if we use both? And I think what you're asking is, what if we do telling and showing? Well, again, these are suggestions. If you find when you write something that maybe a mixture of telling and showing works best for you, go for it. There's no rule that says you have to do showing. A lot of times it's more interesting and more fun, but there might be something that you write in your book where just kind of telling the reader works better. Maybe it's faster. Maybe that's the easiest, best way to describe something in the moment. Go for it. But also experiment with it. See if showing works better in some situations. See if you like it more. Let's see. Brando asks, so basically showing is letting the reader picture it in their head without telling it. Yep, pretty much, Brando. That's a pretty good way of describing it. It's often more fun for the reader to picture it themselves instead of you trying to tell them just what's happening. Hi, Nia. If you're just here, welcome. We're talking about showing instead of telling. April's telling me about her pirate book. It sounds awesome, April. I can't wait to read it. Definitely send that in. Gerard asks, what are my favorite kind of stories? Gerard, I like a lot of fantasy and science fiction, adventure, but I actually read a lot of different kinds of books. I read all over, like all genres. I really love to read and I love to write. So I think it's also really important to read from a bunch of different genres and kind of see how writing works in a lot of different areas. I also like reading a lot of graphic novels. So that's another fun thing to read. All right. And Gerard asks, would you rather write books or draw graphic comics? Well, I'm a very much a beginner drawer. I've I've done a few classes with Rusty where we work on basic drawings, but I don't have the skill to draw a whole comic book. So I think I'll stick to writing books for the most part. Okay, so what I want to do now. Oh, Mariana, hi. It's okay that you're just here now. We're talking about how to be descriptive in our writing, how to show things instead of telling. I think you'll pick it up really quickly as we go into our next part here. Okay, so let's do some examples together. I need to bring up a different screen really quick. Here we go. Sorry about that. Trying to bring up the right thing for you guys. Here we are. Okay, so first off, that's my email address up at the top of the screen. You can email online.learning@delphian.org. If you send your stories to this email address, I will read them and I will get back to you guys. I love reading your stories. If you want tips, if you just want somebody to read it, or if you want feedback, let me know. Send them in. I would love to read your stories. online.learning@delphian.org. Okay, so here are a few examples of sentences that tell instead of show. And what I want to do is I want us to work on fixing them together. So the full moon was very bright. How can we communicate this in more of a showing way? The full moon was very bright, I feel, is a very telling way to say this. So how could we show this instead? Well, I think the best way is first off to imagine you're standing in some environment where you can see the moon. I want you to take a step back, maybe close your eyes, picture yourself outside, inside, wherever you want, but you're seeing the full moon. I want you to come up with sentences that really show that instead of telling it. Things that we can focus on are, what does it look like? What does it feel like? What do we actually see that makes us know that it's very bright, maybe compared to other nights where we've seen the full moon? Yeah, Gerard says, a ray of light came into my eye. Good, that's a good start. Natalie says, the full moon was bright and warm with the breeze of October as it reflected on the grass. Oh, that's really nice. Katie says, the moon's great size was upon my eyes. Very nice. Yeah, keep them coming, guys. Keep on writing your sentences here. The things I think in the sentence that we can focus on are, well, the two things in our telling version, which is pretty short, are that the moon is full and it's really bright. So we could talk about, here's my example. While I wait for you guys to write a few more examples of your own, I'll type my own in here. So I really want the reader to feel the feeling of like being outside and seeing the moon. So maybe I stepped through the creaking door. We love adjectives, right? We want to put describing words in there. I stepped through the creaking door and out into the dewy nighttime grass. I spell nighttime, right? Yeah, I think that's fine. Dewy meaning that there's water on the grass. I looked up at the giant pumpkin colored moon in the sky. I liked one of your examples there about the grass. All the grass around me reflected the orange light back up into my eyes. There we go. So just as I'm looking at this sentence, I'm already seeing things about it that I would change, but you know, it's a first draft. All of our writing, it can always be tweaked and improved. But pumpkin colored moon in the sky. See, that's me trying to tell you that it's orange instead of, well, show you that it's orange instead of telling you. If I rewrote this, I'd probably maybe say something about the shape too, so you really knew that the moon was full. But I'm trying to tell you it's very, very bright. That was a good idea there about how the light reflecting off the grass tells you how bright it is. So yeah, it's fun to write sentences like that. I'm gonna read a few more of yours now. Evan says, the full moon illuminated the whole bridge. Very nice. Gerard says, the full moon shone like the sun, only darker, and it glowed. Very, very nice. Katya says, the glistening light in the night lit it. It was a joyful moment with just me and the moon. Oh, that's a nice little scene there, Katya. Ariana says, I went out and looked up at a bright circle in the sky that showed a beautiful light that delighted my eyes. Very nice. Mariana says, as the breeze fluttered around me, the scent of mist shrouded my senses, leaving the luminous rays to caress my cheeks. Very nice, Mariana. Natalie says, the full moon was bright and warm with the breeze of October as it, oh, I might have already read that one. Did I read that one already? Yes, very nice, Natalie. Okay, good. So you guys can keep on writing example sentences for that one. Katie wrote, as the ruins grew darker, yet darker, the sky grew bright as the moon grew high in the sky. Oh, that's fun. I like ruins. That's a good word usage there. Okay, next example sentence. Her hair looked really unique. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm trying to make these a little bit boring, these telling examples. I could just tell you, her hair looks really unique. But here's the problem with a telling sentence like that. It's really hard to picture. Why does this person's hair look unique? What about it looks unique? And sometimes the showing sentence will be easier to write than the telling sentence in a way. It's certainly more fun. Why does this girl's hair look unique? Instead of telling that it's unique, how could we show that? Jump into the Q&A box and give me some showing sentences that show me why this person's hair is unique. What are some of the many ways hair could look unique? While you guys work on your sentences for that, April says, what app do you put online.learning@delphian.org in your email? So if you go to Gmail or your email from like an Apple computer, you can send me an email to online.learning@delphian.org. I'll show that on the screen again. There you go. Not .com at the end, make sure it's .org. I don't know what delphian.com is. That might go somewhere else. So online.learning@delphian.org, go to Gmail or whatever email service you use. You can do an attachment for like a Word doc. You could copy and paste it into the email box itself. Whichever way you want to send it, I would love to read your stories. So go ahead and send those over. All right. Gerard says, the golden strand of hair on her scalp put my blonde hair to shame. Very nice, Gerard. Evan says, she combed her hair like nobody else. I think that's a good start. Evan, can you tell us more? What else could what else could you show me, Evan? What can you show me about, what does it mean that she combed her hair like nobody else? What does it look like so that we can come to the conclusion that she combs her hair like nobody else? Aubrey says her hair was rainbow. Very cool. Katie says, as the rave's lights shone bright, her magnificent hair drew my eyeballs in. That's a good start. Good start. Katie, can you tell us more about like why it's magnificent? Like, what color is the hair? How's it shaped? Does she have a mohawk, or are there lights in the hair? Like, what? Tell me more. Tell me why it's magnificent. Gerard says, it glittered and shone into everyone's eyes and made her look prettier than before. All right. Good stuff. Mariana says, her eyes revealed the light inside her soul, and when one gazed closely, they would find themselves gazing into the moon through her silky strands. Very nice, Mariana. Let's see. Natalie says, her hair was smooth and soft and was so different from any others. Very good start, Natalie. Can you tell us more? Why was it so different? Show us, give more description of like what it looked like, so we can really decide that it was unique and different. Katie says, as her neononic, I'm not actually sure what that means. You'll have to define that for me, Katie. But Katie says, as her neononic rainbow hair shone bright, brighter yet brighter. Very good. Oh, okay, so Natalie is actually Willow. Hi, Willow. Yeah, it's probably the email address that you signed up with. It's saying probably your mom's name. All right, good examples. Yeah, so let me write, I'll while I wait for some more examples to come in, I'll try my own here. So her hair, I had never seen hair shaped like Susie's. Somehow she had styled it into the shape of a pirate ship. Her brown hair swooped and swirled into sails and cannons, masts and spars. These are all ship terms for different parts of the ship. One pigtail stood out front like a bowsprit. Masthead? I'm looking for the word. You know, when there's like a figurehead, I think it's figurehead, like a figurehead. You know, when there's like a little statue on the front of the ship where like, it's pointing forward. So all your examples are great. This is mine. I could go back and fix this or make it better, but I'm trying to think of like how I could really show you her hair is unique. If somehow a person could shape their hair into sort of a sculpture of a pirate ship, I feel like that would be unique. I've never seen something like that in real life. All right, I think you guys have put in a few more examples. Evan says, her hair was orange fire toned. You noticed it when she arrived. Very good, Evan. Ariana says, that pink and soft hair color and wild hairstyle she had made my attention run out. Gerard says, her hair was too bright to look at. It felt like I was staring into the inner core of the sun, making her hair the brightest of all. That's awesome, Gerard. Good job. All right, great. Let's put up one more example here together. Oh, let's see. Mariana says, although the night was dark, one could see the glimmering from the flowing strands of her hair. That's great. Good job, Mariana. Okay, last example that we're going to do together here. My dog was super energetic. That's a very short telling sentence. How can we turn this short telling sentence into a more descriptive showing sentence? So let's take a moment and let's picture when we see a really energetic dog. Why do we think that dog is so energetic? What is it doing? Here's my challenge for you guys, is to not use any telling words, like saying the dog was excited or the dog was hyper. Your challenge for this next sentence is to only write showing words, like the dog ran in tight circles, or the dog was leaping onto the couch. Give words that are only things that people can see, so they can really see this energetic dog for themselves. While you guys write your showing examples of my dog was super energetic, I will try my own here. So I'm gonna try to just like close my eyes and picture, okay, I can think of a really energetic dog. And then I ask myself, what is that dog doing that makes me think it's so energetic? My neighbor Bob's dog was in my garden. Oh, I guess I'm saying it's my dog, didn't I? Okay, let's say my dog Bob was in my mom's garden again. He dug up the petunias, that's a type of flower, with ferocious, digging paws. Did I say dig twice? I think I did. Yeah, he dug with digging. Oh man. See, this is why we edit too, right? He dug up the petunias with ferocious paws. They moved as fast as, they moved faster than any construction equipment I'd ever seen. The dirt flew in all directions as he gleefully slobbered and ripped through the plants. There we go. That's something we could start with. So the reader can picture this dog just going wild in the garden, just ripping through the dirt. Plants are flying in every direction. You can tell that this dog is super energetic. This dog is super excited as he just rips through this garden. And you can already picture how maybe other people, like the character's mom, is going to feel about this dog ripping through the garden. All right, let's read some of your examples. Gerard says he could run for a long time, wagging his tail, yipping with all his might without taking a rest. Very nice. Mariana says the fluffy ball of fur showed excitement through his light eyes and tapping of his tail. Yes, I like the tapping tail. Very good. Aubrey says the dog had superpowers. Okay, good first draft, Aubrey. How can we rewrite that sentence to, instead of telling me he had superpowers, Aubrey, what can you show me so I can decide for myself that he has superpowers? Describe to me what the dog is doing. Picture a dog having superpowers. Well, what would you tell somebody you're actually seeing? Is it because the dog is flying? Is the dog chewing through a metal post? Describe the scene to us. Katie says, as the little golden retriever leapt onto my waist, yapping like a broken alarm clock. Oh, Katie, that is awesome. Good job. Gerard says he would put all the neighbors' dogs to shame in any race he would compete in. Very nice. Willow says the dog was running and the air was in its fur, letting him and a wolf, strong and adventures, and great, huge, strong paws. Very nice, Natalie. All right, awesome. Aubrey says he could run super fast. Very good. Yeah, so if you describe the dog running super fast, faster than any other dog can run, the hair whipping through his fur, the person may conclude for themselves, oh, that dog has superpowers. He's running faster than any other dog can run. So very, very cool. Okay, good. So I just wanted to remind everybody that a longer term project we're working on this summer is we're gonna have 4 more weeks of classes. And by the end of the summer, at all these writing classes that we're doing, I want you guys to keep on working on your stories, adding to them, improving them. And then by the end of summer, send in your final draft, like your finished story that you'd like to share with others. And I'm going to combine all of your stories into like one short story collection that I can email out to everybody. I think that'll be really fun to have all of our writing together in one bundle so you can read what all the other students have been writing. So one more time, go ahead and share your stories with online.learning@delphian.org. I'll give you feedback. You can add to your stories. You can keep on working on them over the next several weeks, and then we'll be able to put them all together. I think that'll be a lot of fun. You can then share them with your family and friends. So as always, keep on writing, keep on having fun this summer. We'll see you back next week for more classes. As always, you can go to the heronbooks.com website, and we have several courses there that you can use to help you improve your writing. These are awesome courses. I teach these to my students. I have learned a lot from them myself. So feel free to go and check any of these out. They tell you how to write better sentences, better paragraphs, to use better grammar. We love them. So go check them out, heronbooks.com. Okay, that's all for this week. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.